Hello and welcome to my beginner's guide for the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live 2025 edition. Alrighty, so to get things cleared up right now, there is a rotation right now. This is always when I make these videos, rotation. So what exactly happened? Alright, basically, rotation happens once every year, and they phase out cards that are more than 2 years old. So in this case, the last of the Sword and Shield cards have left the game. They are gone. Anything with a yellow border or like is a V or a V Max, those are no longer playable in the standard format. And this is the format that the most players play, and it is what the rank ladder is all about. It's all about standard. And thankfully at the start of the year, Pokemon Live likes to give players a plethora of really cool free decks. And I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts on each of these decks, and then we're going to go ahead and build some new decks based on the cards and archetypes that they already gave us. I picked the best 3 of them, but you might be able to see them up there if you want to spoil it. It's not that exciting. So let's go ahead and just jump into the first one with Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. I don't know why it's called Teal Mask Ogerpon EX when it's more of a Raging Bolt deck, but we'll go ahead and talk about them each individually. So the main core or slash engine of the deck is going to be this guy. His ability lets you take a grass energy from your hand and attach it to it and then draw another card. That does not count as you attaching an energy from your hand per turn, so it basically lets you do it on the same guy twice if you really wanted to, but it stacks each one you have on your bench, and this deck has 4 of them. You can get more energy. So why are we building up all this energy? What's the purpose? What's the goal? The goal is that Raging Bolt does 70 damage for each basic energy you discard off your board. And this ramps up really fast when you have 4 Ogerpon down on the board. And Raging Bolt doesn't even play grass energy, so that's a little weird, right? But we have something like Professor Sada that says you can take basic energy cards from your discard pile and attach them to your ancient Pokemon. You can choose 2 ancient Pokemon, and if you did that, you get to draw 3 cards. A really strong card. It's very similar to Welder, if anyone was returning back from the late Sun and Moon era, which I doubt is barely anyone. And then we also have another really fun card in this deck, which is Crispin, which lets you look for 2 basic energy, attach one, and then put one to your hand. This can also help out Raging Bolt because it gets that extra energy attachment on it, and then you found the other one with it. So it's a really solid deck, and this has most of everything that I would expect to see in a Raging Bolt. It's also got the Nactile engine that says if you have a terrestrial Pokemon in play, aka Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, that you can go look for 2 trainer cards. Trainer cards means literally anything. Earthen Vessel's a trainer card. Prime Catcher's a trainer card. The Professor Sada is a trainer card. It's a really powerful card. You got to make sure you have the Teal Mask Ogerpon in play before you play it, though. Otherwise, it won't work. There's another little guy in here, Squawkabilly. It's really cool that they gave you this guy, too. This guy's a really good setup Pokemon. Whenever you play it during your first turn, you can discard your hand, draw 6. It's a really strong effect. It's basically like a mini Professor's Research if you've seen that card around, which I'm sure we'll see in one of these decks. So that sums it up. It's a pretty good deck. Really simple strategy. Just build up the board with flat energy and then go kabam. So the next one up is what they call Pikachu EX, and it's more of like a Blaziken pile kind of deck. Blaziken lets you take a basic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. It's a pretty good effect on a stage 2. I like when stage 2s have like really nice base like energy acceleration or kind of little self-sufficient themselves. You know that this, it does 200 damage, which isn't terrible, but it's not going to be the main attacker. I just like that it can attack. The whole goal is to put energy in your discard pile, then use Blazikens on your Pikachus in order to use its Topaz Bolt attack, which does 300 damage, and then you get to discard all the energy from it again. So you could ideally do that in 1 turn if you had all 3 Blazikens set up, which would be pretty hard to do. Now, there is a nice little draw engine with Iono's Kilowattrel. Discard a lightning energy from your hand and then draw until you have 6. But you're also playing a lot of other different energy cards, and it's kind of weird that you have your only It's just this deck feels like it had an idea, it has hopes and dreams, it wants to function, but I really can't see this build functioning. It might be worth testing or trying out just as like a nice little novelty, but I really don't think this deck is anywhere remotely near as good as a Raging Bolt EX deck that you could pretty much already go ahead and get some wins with minor tweaking. This one might just need a whole restructuring. It's an interesting idea, but I really don't think it's too great. And following that one up is with Mamoswine EX, which is a really, really interesting card in itself. It has a massive 340 HP and an ability that lets you look for a Pokemon and reveal and put in your hand. It's a pretty good ability. So again, I like these stage 2s that have really helpful and self-sufficient abilities. It's great. And then its attack synergizes into finding Pokemon. It does 40 more damage for each stage 2 on your bench, and it already does 180 base. So this ramps up pretty fast, especially if you had like Area 0 with even more stage 2, which would probably be unlikely. And we have some things that synergize with it, like Luxray, that says if your opponent has, I don't know, if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, you get to put this guy onto your bench. So that counts as a stage 2 without needing to evolve it. So we could just play the Luxray, because we could place it down at any point if we are behind on prizes. Now, I figured they probably would have given you 2 or 3 of those guys, because I guess the idea is just to kind of sit and build up your board and attack when you're ready. And then you have like Quillavle to like help you draw, like, and like excel, like I don't know, like this whole engine up here is just not great. It's just not what this deck needed. You could make probably a pretty good Mamoswine deck, but it's definitely not this build. This is not great. And even then, I think Mamoswine at best is mostly just kind of a Mimi card, just a really big boy who can do some big damage. It's great that they gave you Grand Tree. Now this deck can help out quite a lot of stage 2s in the future, and is sometimes the preferred A-spec in some decks. Definitely probably Mamoswine, I can definitely see, since you're pretty much relying on those. But maybe you want to use Grand Tree in something like a Blaziken deck or something like that, you know? Or, you know, you can use it in a lot of different things. You could even use it in like the next deck we're going to talk about. An excellent segue into Hydreigon EX. This list is also kind of weird and kind of strange, and I really don't know exactly what they were thinking. But let's just go ahead and talk about the star of the show, Hydreigon EX. He has 330 HP. He is a Terastal Darkness Pokemon, so he just Terastaled into a type you already knew. Or no, this is Stellar, I guess, so they're always the same type. And its first attack for 1 Darkness, 1 Colorless, Crashing Headbutt, does 200 damage, and you get to discard 3 cards of your opponent's deck, which is also a pretty powerful attack just to keep spamming. You can really put some pressure and cut off some vital resources from them. But then its Home Mary attack, for which is called just raw Obsidian. It does 130, and then does 130 more to 2 other of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So that is a crazy amount of damage being put out onto the board from 1 attack. But it also has a crazy weird attack cost with a Psychic, Darkness, Metal, and Colorless. So how in the world are we even going to be able to get any of that off? Well, this deck presumes that having a Blissey EX out and a Hydreigon and having the Glass Trumpet in hand and having energy cards in the discard pile, because Glass Trumpet says if you have any terrestrialized Pokemon in play, you get to choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon, attach basic energy to them from your discard pile. So it's kind of like a little SATA, but on an item, and has a weird restriction. We play no basic terrestrial Pokemon because that's absolutely genius. Interesting idea to use a Glass Trumpet to get those energies in play. And then we have a Revy Room that says, discard an energy from your hand, and then you can draw until you have 6 cards in hand, which also just makes me like realize that wait, what was the one deck we were looking at? Was it Mamoswine? No, the Pikachu. Yeah, no, the Pikachu could have played the Revy Room over the Kilowattrel. Yeah, 6. And then that one does 6. I'm not sure I get it. I'm not sure I get it. I feel like the review room just would have been better in this because there's different energy. Because I'm not misreading that, right? Yeah. Why is the other one more restrictive? Okay, well, it's great that the Hydreigon deck does give you the review room. There's a cool card in here. Petrarant lets you pivot any of your darkness Pokemon. Pivot basically means switching your active around, essentially into a new better attacker. So this is going to help Hydreigon get in and out of the active. He has a 3 retreat cost, so he can be a little hard to get in and out. Hydreigon EX is a really good card and is a really powerful card. However, I do not think this Blissey build really works without something like a basic Terrastalized Pokemon in order to help out, just to get that effect for Glass Trumpet. And there are some other ways to build Hydreigon. It's surprisingly not as hard to build for getting that energy cost out there. Right now with Darkness Patch being gone, which is a card we lost with rotation, it has made it tougher. But we still have things like Neo Upper Energy, which is the Ace spec they gave you in this deck, which it only works on Stage 2 Pokemon, but it provides 2 of any energy cards. So it's a double rainbow. It's a really powerful card, but it does have that really annoying restriction of only working on Stage 2s. Alrighty, so after Hydreigon, we're going to be talking about Hops Zacian EX, but it also has Archaludon EX in it as well. So this one just felt like they just combined 2 decks together. They just smashed them together violently, and then they said, go play with it. Both of these, they're 2 decks. Archaludon and Zacian are 2 separate decks. The Hops deck and Archaludon, they sometimes share a core, mainly like a double and maybe like a Hops Cramorant, but like the double and Hops Cramorant are just like really good, like outside of just being vaguely related to being played in Archaludon. Now the Hops Zacian can help out Archaludon. Archaludon. This guy has a weird name. This might just call him Duraludon too. Now the Zacian has a really good attack with its Insta Strike. It does 30 damage to the active and then a 30 to the bench. This guy eats baby Pokemon for breakfast. He munches on them. He kills the disgusting, evil, vile grass baby known as Budu. And it's a good card to have in an Archaludon deck, but having like 3 of them and then like the Snorlax and like the Hops Choice Band and stuff like that, like these just needed to be 2 different decks. So this is a good like bits and pieces deck. This gets you a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't have like already. Now, like from here on, like you only need like maybe like a couple hollows and maybe like another EX in order to get Archaludon working, and probably the same for Zacian. Maybe a little bit more of like turbo stuff, maybe like another. I haven't actually like seen how to play Hops Zacian EX. It isn't something I've built yet, but I know both are playable. Archaludon especially is very good. So split these 2 decks up into 2 different archetypes, and then we would be absolutely rolling. So it's a great parts deck. Not a great deck to play, but a great parts deck. So another great parts deck, but that is significantly worse. Now, I would say this deck would actually like function. It's weird and strange. I guess I probably should have told you exactly what it did, though. Okay, so the Archaludon, it says whenever you evolve this Pokemon, you get to attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your metal Pokemon in any way you like, which includes Hops Zacian or itself. And then Archaludon just has a massive 300 HP for being a stage 1, and then does a comfortable 220 damage with basically no drawback on it. So he's a really good attacker, and he's really bulky. If you wanted to do Zacian does a little bit more damage. He hits that 240 natively, but you can't use Brave Slash on your following turn. And then, the Instant Strike does some more damage. But I guess the real star of the show of what Hops Zacian is all about is really the Hops kit in general. Is Hops Snorlax makes you do 30 more damage. The Hops Choice Band also makes you do 30 more damage. And then the Postwick Stadium also makes you do 30 more damage. This guy can get up to some crazy numbers, but it is also just getting a crazy amount of stuff in like play for it. Like I honestly feel like it would be easier to get like Hops Zacian rolling with like a Secret Box 8 spec rather than a Scoop Up Cyclone. But Scoop Up Cyclone is really good in a tanky deck, which Archaludon would be. Archaludon is just about like just having really big HP early on and then just doing consistent numbers over and over and then healing and swapping. That's what this guy is all about. But Zacian's really more about like all out offense instead. So yeah. The Hops kit's pretty interesting, but they need to be two different decks. All right, now we're covering Greninja EX. Greninja EX, a really cool card. He's got 310 HP, a little low for his Stage 2 EX. But for 1 water energy, Shinobi Blade does 170, and then you get to look for a card and put into your hand. So you search your deck, get a card, put it into your hand, helps you out for next turn. Hand Disruption isn't super spammed right now, so it's a relatively safe attack. But it's also a Stage 2 attack that isn't really putting a whole lot of leverage out there. But the main reason why you play Greninja EX is for the Mirage Barrier. Discard 2 energy cards from this Pokemon. It does 120 damage to each of your, does 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And right now, there's no way to protect your bench outside of just being a terrestrialized Pokemon like Greninja is. So it's a pretty strong attack right now. But our primary method for accelerating energy to Greninja EX is another Stage 2 in Baxcalibur. And this just makes things really clogged up, because now you're going to need all the stuff for your Baxcalibur and your Greninja. And you're going to have all the energy and stuff in hand. And you're also like playing Chimpao in here to try to help out with it. And then you got to switch and pivot. It's just, I don't know. I don't think the Greninja EX can really work swiftly enough. Oh yeah, there's also the Dunsparce engine in here, which this guy is actually really good, and it's great that they put it in the deck, because this guy can be played in a lot of different lists. The A-Spec they give you is Max Rod, which is kind of interesting, and I guess that would help with like not having everything in hand, but it's just not powerful enough to get you set up in the early game. Like, this deck would just struggle getting stuff out to begin with. It would just get rolled too quickly for the attack to be even like worth. It's just not great. It would be better just ditching Greninja and just focusing on Chimpao and Wellspring Ogerpon, which is a card I'll be mentioning later whenever we get to cards that we're gonna need to craft. So yeah, the Baxcalibur Chimpao core is nice to have, and it's great that new players have it. It's not the best deck right now even then. And there's some pretty good cards and stuff in here. You know, Surface nice to have. You know, maybe the Max Rod is good, but the Dunsparce line is really good to have. It's great that they gave you that. So, going on to the next deck of Gholdengo EX. This guy has 260 HP for Stage 1, so significantly less HP than the last Stage 1 Metal Pokemon we looked at. But he has the ability Coin Bonus that says once during a turn you may draw a card. If you're an active card, you get to draw 2 cards, which that's a pretty good ability. I really like whenever these EXs have like their own core support to themselves. And then its attack for 1 metal energy, make it rain, does 50 damage for each metal energy card, or not metal energy, any basic energy card you discard from your hand. And that's the whole gimmick, is that we have ways to search for a lot of different types of energy with Energy Search Pro. So we can look for every color of energy and put it into our hand and then dump it with Gholdengo and nuke anything for any amount of damage we want. It's a pretty simple strategy. The Gholdengo already draws you cards, so you're already going to be getting cards and pieces. And then this build features Togekiss, which says whenever you knock out something, you flip a coin. If heads, you get to take another prize card. So you could potentially be taking 3 prize cards off a EX knockout. So that's really good. There's also the Stadium card that lets you take 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile and put it into your hand. It's pretty good. And this deck does feature a little bit more electric energy in for it. But I can't say that like having 3 of them in there for 3 energy is quite good. I think it's an interesting idea if you wanted to abandon the Energy Search Pro route and just focus on having metal and lightning energy. and just kind of do it like there's this old deck from the Sun and Moon era. It was Alolan Doug Trio, which had a very similar attack to Goldango, and there was a stadium card called Mount Coronet, and it let you take Metal Energy and put it back into your hand. Now, it definitely would have been way better if we had that stadium for Goldango, because then Goldango could just run raw metal again. But this is an interesting idea. I would ideally just scoop out all the fluff of this deck and just focus on building Goldango, getting all those energies and just blowing up everything as fast and consistently as possible with just Goldango. Fezandipiti is a great card to have here. It's great that we got it for free. It says whenever one of your Pokemon are knocked out, you get to draw 3 cards after that during your turn. This card is really impactful in pretty much every single deck you play. This is like a must-have card, and it's great that we got it. So yeah, the Goldango list here is like, it's pretty good. It's functional, but it definitely needs a little bit of tweaking and optimization. But it's a really solid list. This is definitely one you would want to play. Goldango is really good. And then we have a not really good build of a very popular deck with Charizard EX. Charizard EX here is just, I don't know. It's not like cringeworthy bad, but it's definitely a little questionable. It's just like, sure, the Tera Orb isn't bad, but we only play 2 Tera Pokemon in the deck, and then 1 Nest Ball only, and just not a whole lot of like 4 Iono. Like, I don't know. And then like the 2 Artisan. It's a little weird. I get it would function like 100%, but it's just like the counts on everything are just kind of strange. It's a really good parts deck, but most people already had a lot of these cards from the Charizard League Battle deck, which a lot of new beginners probably would be having. And I'm going to be showing a direct upgrade of a Charizard EX. It's kind of an upgrade of this one, but also of the League Battle deck one, if you had that one laying around. Let me see. I think I have it somewhere. Yeah, the Charizard League Battle deck. Now, this is one that was pretty common. It was sold in stores and stuff like that. This one has really strange counts on it too, like too many Charmeleons, Moltres is bad, but it really doesn't take a whole lot in order to upgrade these cards, especially now that we got Fez and like Mew and stuff for free. I don't think we're going to be playing Mew in Charizard, but I do think that this deck is still pretty good. I think Charizard EX is really good. So what does he do? What does the Charizard do? He's got his own League Battle deck. He must be really strong. And he's Charizard. He's a dark type Charizard. He's got 330 HP with the ability Infernal Rain. Whenever you evolve this Pokemon, even with a rare candy, you get to look through your deck to find up to 3 basic Fire Energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Up to 3. So you can just attach it to itself. So now it's already ready to go just from evolving. Absolutely broken effect. So for 2 Fire Energy, Burning Darkness, it does 180 damage. But then it does 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. And this ramps up scary fast just from having one of your Pokemon knocked out. Now this thing's hitting for 220 and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It's just going to blow through everything at the end of the game. And to support getting this all set up as fast as possible, we play another stage 2 with Pidgeot EX. It has 280 HP, which is really, really, really low for a Stage 2 EX, but it is balanced by it having one of the most broken abilities ever, Quick Search. You just look for a card and put it into your hand. That's all it does. As an attack, but no one really uses it. You could power it up with Charizard, but I don't know why you would and not attack with Charizard. Yeah, so both of these stage 2s are basically entirely self-sufficient, and they're just really powerful. And then we play a lot of really powerful items and tools and stuff like that. You know, Arvin, he's a guy you're going to see a lot. Look for an item and then and a tool and put it into your hand. Really good supporter. We play some good tools like Maximum Belt, which is the A spec for this deck. Now, Charizard only doing 180 at the start of the game is a little low, but adding that extra 50 damage can really put some extra pressure onto your opponent right out the gate. TM Evolution is also searched out by Arvin, and this basically lets you evolve your Pokemon with an attack, which is a really helpful thing. It lets you evolve 2 of your bench Pokemon with an attack. So if you're going second, you can already go ahead and get a lot of stuff out on your field. All right. I think that about covers it for the Charizard. So yeah, this build's pretty. It's got a Cleffa. It's nice that they gave it to you. It's not terrible, but this one, it needs some tweaks. So you might be wondering, how are we gonna go ahead and tweak these decks? Well, where are we gonna get these cards from? There's no on the home screen. Where's my daily packs button at? While there is no daily packs button on Pokemon Trading Card Game Live, we do have a lot of different methods of obtaining cards. The most straightforward one is just entering code cards you got from real life packs into the game, or by playing the game and going through the battle pass and earning packs this way, getting challenges for these little things up here. Now they briefly go over them, but what's the best way to go ahead and use them? Well, for these little gold tickets over here that I have a lot of right now, for me at least, we can go ahead and just buy cards with these directly. So let's say our Charizard deck is missing a Fezandipiti or something, even though we already have one. But it's just the card that came to my top of my head. So we can go over here and we can exchange it for 600 of these crafting little tickets you get. And the way you get these little tickets are each 4 copies of a card you got. So let's say I had 4 copies of Charmander and I opened a pack and that had another Charmander on it. It would go ahead and give me a small amount of those little gold shopping tickets over there. They're called credits. So they'll give you a small amount. They'll give you about like 10 for like a common, for like a black. And then I think they give you up like 40 or like 100 for like the rares and stuff like that. And you saw that, this one costed 600, so you're going to have to open up quite a few different amount of packs and get stuff going in order to craft these cards. But if we look at this one, this rare is only 400. So, a hollow rare is a 400, and then, an uncommon is like 40. And if you just play the events and you go through ranked and stuff like that, they do give you quite a bit of like little crafting things and stuff like that in order to go ahead and get those cards. So honestly, from between what they already gave you with these starter decks and the crafting credits you can earn just through naturally playing or by buying packs and entering those code cards in, you can go ahead and get some tournament ready deck lists available just honestly within like the first hour or two of the game. So I wanted to go ahead and then get into what these purple things are, because these purple ones up here are used in the expansions and bundles, and these are going to be the primary way that you're going to go ahead and get crafting credits farmed from them. So the major way that people like to go ahead and just get a bunch of these crafting cards so they can craft any card they want is by going into the bundles tab and spending these purple credits on products like a Charizard League battle deck. Now this comes with a lot of copies of Charizard and Pidgeot EX and a Prime Catcher, and these will give you a lot of those gold tickets right off the bat. Another one you can go ahead and get are going to be any of the older VMAX decks. You have to scroll down quite a lot, and you'll see it here in a second. Wow, this was a really long time ago. Yeah, go ahead and get the like a Palkia one. It ain't too bad to get. But where is he? Yeah, the Mew one was a really good one. I bought this one a lot too. The Mew one was really good. There was a Miraidon one you could buy as well. I must just not be seeing it. But yeah, there's quite a few of those like deck bundles. And for the amount of like purple crystals they cost versus how many crafting credits you can potentially earn off them is absolutely massive. Now you might have to buy them like once or twice in order to start getting a profit off of it, but it is definitely worth investing in getting those built up, so you can go ahead and just farm the credits. Even if you're not going to be using the decks or doing anything like that, just getting the credits is important so you can go ahead and craft and build any deck you want to do at any time, because this game is primarily about being a tabletop sim, and we want to be able to have currently an evolving card stock. Basically, we want to be able to have all the cards to see what everyone's playing and play what everyone's playing. Essentially, that's the whole main goal of this deck. And in order to help you speed along, you're going to need some decks that actually really kick some butt. So out of the starter decks that they gave you, I found some lists that weren't too different from the available card pool that you would have just right out the gate. Just basically taking bits and pieces from all of these decks and combining them into 3 super decks. So the first one that we've been looking at right here is the Charizard one, and this one has a better count, and it's a little more complicated and a little harder to play. So I'll have to explain it in a little bit of steps for it. This is a beginner's guide after all. So one of the cards we're going to have to craft is Munkidori. I didn't see any deck give it, but he's a pretty cheap card. You should have enough cards to get out of the way. This guy has a really dangerous ability. You need a darkness energy on it in order to use it, but you can take 3 damage counters from anywhere on your board and then push them around to the opponent. And this really helps out because Charizard is a pretty beefy guy. So this guy can take some hits, and that spreading that 30 damage can make Charizard do even more damage. So you do that and combine that with a Maximum Belt, and Charizard can hit some massive numbers early on. But we're not even done there on boosting Charizard's damage. There's a rather infamous card right here, Dusknoir, another holo you're going to have to make, but this deck only includes 1 holo, so it's only going to be 800 crafting credits in order to get these 2 in your deck. If you didn't already have them in your card library, or you didn't pull them yet, it has the ability Cursed Blast. Once during your turn, you can knock this Pokemon out, and you can put 13 damage counters, which equivalates to 130 damage, anywhere on your opponent's board. So it does knock itself out, so your opponent will take a prize card, but ideally you're also taking a prize card with it too. So it's kind of an even trade. But you can also use it to spread damage on a really big target, like a Pidgeot or something that Charizard wouldn't normally be able to knock out. And then if you're behind on prizes, this activates some of your comeback cards, like Counter Catcher, which says you have to be behind on your prize cards. You have to have more prize cards than your opponent. Well, that's convenient since Dusknoir it knocks itself out. So you would force yourself usually to be behind on prizes and then get some really dirty KOs with it. And again, we're featuring the Pidgeot engine, which is really essential to it. Cleffa's here just for some bad starts. You could swap it out with the Forsaken horrible demon spawn of grass and terrible pollen, Budu, over Cleffa. Now Cleffa's really good just for getting out of some clogged hands or being item locked by this guy, but also playing Budu yourself isn't a terrible idea as well. What does this terrible atrocity Budu do? Well, he has 30 HP, rather threatening, and a free retreat cost, pretty important. And for 0 energy, that's what that gray symbol over here by its attack means. It's not an energy, it's just it's a nothing. It takes nothing to use this attack. Itchy Pollen does 10 damage, and your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand during their next turn. So whenever you get hit by that, that means you can't use Rare Candy. That means you can't use Ultra Ball. That means you can't use Buddy Poffin. You can't use Nest Ball. You can't use Night Stretcher. It's a lot of you can't do anything during your turn. And Charizard has to kind of pace itself and try to get everything in line. Now, there are a bit of the stage 1s in here. We have the stage 1 for Dusclops. Or no, Dusclops is a stage 1. Dusknoir is a stage 2. My bad. The stage 1 also has the same ability, but it's much weaker. It does 5, which is still pretty strong. That can also knock out like a baby Pokemon as well, or just, get you ready up for some KOs with Charizard. So, yeah, honestly, you just need the Dusknoir line inserted in here with a monkey, and there's also Chi-Yu in here. This is basically just to get around like a Mimikyu or something in case you didn't have like a Dusknoir online in order to get it. It's It's okay. This was basically just from a list I copied, and it had it in here, and I kind of liked it. I do like Chi-Yu as a Pokemon, so you could probably definitely swap this card out for maybe like another Jacq or something like that. You know, that'd be pretty good, or maybe another rare candy would also be pretty good. The energy count's pretty slim. Charizard basically pulls it out from the deck, so we don't ever need really energy in hand, and we have ways to recycle it with Super Rod. And in case we lost, we got them in the discard pile, we can go ahead and shuffle them back in, so then Charizard's ready to go ahead and use this ability. So yeah, that's Charizard. So basically, just get your board ready with Pidgeot and Charizard to go smack down, and then we have a bunch of little ways to boost up our damage. Oh, and Fezandipiti's here. It's really good in Charizard as well. So, carrying on from Charizard, we can work backwards and then talk about Gholdengo. Now, I already talked a lot about Gholdengo and how good this card was. But with this build, for minimal cards, I did copy this list from another player in a city league in Japan. But instead of playing a Mew EX in their list, they were playing a Dusknoir EX. See, I don't even have it yet. But if you already built like all the stuff you wanted to get for Charizard and maybe blinged it out a little bit and you ran out of crafting credits and you weren't able to get the Dusknoir, but you still wanted to play Gholdengo, it's not entirely important. It definitely helps out in Gholdengo. And I'll probably go ahead and craft it real quick and slot it into the deck. But I had Mew in here. Sometimes whenever you use Gholdengo, as I explained earlier, you discard all those energies from your hand. So sometimes your hand can be kind of low and Mew can kind of help you get back up. And then you can use Gholdengo to drop cards on top of it. So Mew EX is not a bad card in Gholdengo. It also is a free retreater, but it's not like super, super crazy important. The Dusknoir EX is pretty good. So it does 60 damage for each of your opponent's EX Pokemon in play. He's not the star of the show, though, but it's Gholdengo, basically. And this is really similar to the pre-built deck they gave you. We didn't really change a whole lot. There is a Crispin. Crispin just kind of helps out with just getting energy and, you know, sometimes being item locked by the horrible grass devil baby Budew. You might not be able to use your item cards. The other thing is that we have super energy retrieval. This is a very strong energy retrieval card that I don't think the other one did play. So crafting all these ones might be a little expensive because, yeah, how much do they cost? Yeah, they cost 100 each. So that'd be as much as like a holo to get a playset of them, which I don't believe they gave you. It's a little light on the Pokeballs and Ultra Balls. Mainly because the whole thing we're relying on is like Arven, TM Evolution, and just how powerful Gholdengo's draw engine itself is, actually. We're playing a plethora of energy cards in here, but we're not doing the lightning build that the other one had. We're just doing straight Gholdengo. We do have more darkness energy than we do any other type, and that's because we also play Munkidori in this deck. Now, the sky isn't like entirely important, but Gholdengo has a decent amount of HP, and there's always Dragapult on the horizon. Now, we haven't really mentioned Dragapult yet because they didn't give us anything to start a deck out with him. But Dragapult is getting a Battle League deck here soon, and this guy is really crazy powerful. He does 200 damage, and then he puts 6 damage counters on your bench any way it likes. So they can slowly start racking up damage on the Gholdengo, so they can attack a active Gholdengo, and then they can put 6 damage counters on like a retreated Gholdengo. So the next time they attack into that Gholdengo, it's already ready to knock out. But if we play Monkey and we move those damage around, we can kind of mess up their math a little bit. So Munkidori is kind of a nice little spicy tech card in there that can help us avoid from just, you know, being really messed up by Dragapult. Even though we can do some scary numbers to Dragapult, sometimes Dragapult can just kind of creep back and start getting us. So the Monkey is good in this deck as well, since our numbers are so perfectly aligned in with Dragapult. The Dusknoir, incidentally, also falls out of range of that 2-hit combo with Dragapult. So that's nice as well. Fezandipiti doesn't, but Fezandipiti is just a really good card. You might be seeing a trend. We also see the Dunsparce engine over the Togekiss engine from the starter deck version of Gholdengo, and this just lets you draw cards. And Gholdengo likes to see lots of cards. We like to see lots of energy, and that just kind of goes into the whole strategy, just building up a massive hand of energy and just blowing it up. It's really simple. It's a really simple deck. There's not really much to explain other than just a little bit of the nuance in here that was different from the starter one. So carrying on, we'll go ahead and touch on the Raging Bolt deck. I'm calling this one a Raging Bolt deck and not a Teal Mask Ogerpon deck. It's my deck list, and I can do whatever I say with it. Actually, it's not really my deck list. I'd based it on another Japanese City League deck, but I changed it to have minimal new cards. So one of the new cards in this deck that you're probably not going to have, but is absolutely essential to running pretty much any deck that relies on basic Pokemon, is Latios EX. It has 210 HP, a little low for an EX Pokemon, but it has one of the most powerful abilities in the game, especially with items being a little restricted by Budew. It gives all your basic Pokemon in play no retreat cost. Its attack is there, but no one really uses it. And pretty much everything in our Raging Bolt deck is a basic. Raging Bolt had a retreat cost of 3, which was kind of fat, and then Latios makes it free, so now we can pivot and move around the board all nice and easily. Even then, like our Teal Masks don't have that like high of a retreat cost. It's not the end of the world. Same thing with a lot of the rest of our kits. A lot of ones. So we already covered what Raging Bolt and Teal Mask Ogerpon did, and this deck just kind of refines it. And I think it's the same amount of Noctile and Hoot Hoots as well with a Fezandipiti. Did the other one have a Squawk ability? Maybe it was missing the Squawk ability. No, it had it. Oh no, it was missing the Fezandipiti. Yeah, it was for some reason missing a Fezandipiti. This card's pretty good in there. Just because Fezandipiti is just really good and neat. And it's great that they gave you because you spam it in like absolutely every deck. A little guy you can put into a Raging Bolt deck is Koraidon. If one of your ancient Pokemon use an attack during your last turn, this guy does 150 more damage from its regular 30. So now it hits 180 for fighting type weakness. It's pretty strong. You could also play Slitherwing. Did I spell it wrong? No, there it is. You can also play this Slitherwing. It does for 2 fighting energy, 120 damage, does 90 damage to itself, and then it also makes your opponent's active Pokemon burn. So it does 120 damage and then burns the active Pokemon, but then it does 90 damage to yourself. But that's not really relevant. It's already kind of a squishy Pokemon. Its energy cost is a little more restricted with it having to be the 2 fighting energy, unlike the Koraidon, which just needs colorless, but it does have a more awkward requirement onto it. So honestly, I would say both of these cards are kind of even. It just depends on what you want to do. I say the Koraidon is just a little more beneficial because like even with just like the 2 colorless, it does 30. It can knock out a baby Pokemon at least, I guess. And it can even knock out like something like a colorless Pokemon, like a basic colorless Pokemon weak to fighting too, even without like the subtext bonus damage. So it's a pretty good card. It's a pretty good card. This deck's playing Prime Catcher, Professor Sada with Earthen Vessel. It's pretty standard. It's pretty close to what the other one was. Just a basic energy count. Nothing special about this. This deck is just consistent. It's just really, really good. Alrighty. Well, honestly, that kind of covers it up. We could go ahead and get into a more advanced tutorial, but I think I'll save that for a later date. So the main thing about today's video was that they gave you a lot of good free decks and stuff to play with, and we can compound them into a good chunk of really playable tournament ready decks that will really help you progress in that link ladder and get even more cards and even more decks in order to play. So some of these lists might be a little too hard to play. You might want to simplify them. These are all up to you. Feel free to go ahead and use a wonderful resource that I use quite oftenly. It is Limitless TCG, as I was already looking at it. This looks really good. If you want to know like what's being played or like what counts you should be doing or like how you should make your deck. And I also make a good few of tutorials of decks I like to play and I find fun, which I probably will be making a few here shortly because rotation is always my favorite season of this game. It's just a bunch of crazy ideas going off. But yeah, you can just go through here, just look at most recent tournaments and stuff, see what people are playing. This is not this format right now. This regional in Vancouver is before rotation. If you wanted to look at after rotation, you got to go over here to City Leagues and see what people in Japan are playing. But right now, they're even a set ahead of us again. So you have to go back a couple days, and or I guess maybe weeks by the time you're seeing this. But as a rule of thumb, limited list TCG is really good for staying up to date on how you should build your deck. And I am really proud of Live giving us some really fantastic pre-built decks to work with again for seemingly the third year in a row. So I hope you learned something. Hope you figured out like what cards you can go ahead and just mash together and make some better decks off of. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment.